February 28th meeting of the Richmond Community Schools Board of School Trustees. As is our custom, if you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Another tradition we have that I love is if we could have the reading of the mission statement, please.
Richmond Community Schools guide students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
And our vision statement?
Richmond Community Schools, a community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for life of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you. And our first agenda item is our celebrations and reflections, and we have part 2.
Well, before we do that, we're going to actually,
Oh,
we have
yes.
a late entry because of some exciting
Forgot, but
events that
that's
happened
exciting.
over this weekend. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Ray Whoopi, our high school principal, if she would approach the podium and bring with her whoever she would like.
Whoever she would like.
As always, I am privileged, I'm honored to be standing in front of the school board, superintendent, central office administrators to celebrate one of our Richmond High School athletes. And tonight, we are celebrating Rhs Senior Ike Camus. On Saturday, February the 24th, Ike Camus made history.
Yes, he did.
In RHS athletics. Ike won the diving event at the state meet for the second year in a row. No other Richmond High School individual athlete in the history has ever won back-to-back state championships, let alone 2 individual state championships. That's accomplishment number 1, all right? Accomplishment number 2 was that Ike becomes the first individual sport athlete to have medaled at a state meet all 4 years of his high school career.
Very nice.
Ike was 3rd in diving as a 9th grader. He was 10th as a 10th grader, he was 2nd, and as a junior and senior, he was 1st.
Awesome.
So again, he's made amazing history that is going to be very difficult to replicate in the future. Presents quite a challenge and some high expectations for our other individual sport athletes. One of the greatest things about these 4 years with Ike, as a member of the IHSAA Board of Directors, I get to hang medals at the state meet. So Ike tweeted out after the state meet a picture of us together and where I'm hanging his medal each year. So it has just been an amazing experience having Ike as one of our divers, as one of our students. Ike is amazingly dedicated, not only to his diving, but also to his athletics. Ike is one of our valedictorians this year as well. So when you talk about the epitome of a student athlete, Ike Camus comes to mind. So the other 3rd culminating activity on Saturday was Ike was named the Swimming Mental Attitude Award winner as well.
Wow.
Of course
The
you are.
secret was I knew I was not allowed to be in the Mental Attitude Award, which usually the board members of the IHSAA, we sit and we read through the applications and we decide who wins the Mental Attitude Award. Well, I couldn't be a part of that because I had Ike as one of the nominees. So after he won diving, and of course we got done celebrating, the board members came out and said, by the way, Ike wins the Medal Attitude Award. and I went, oh my gosh. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to leave. and so Larry Cochran, our AD, who, by the way, could not be here tonight, he has an indoor track meet that he's running at the current time. But I'm texting Larry and I'm going, tell Ike's parents they can't leave. And of course he texts back. He said, why? I said, he's the Medal Attitude Award winner. Can I tell them? I said, I think you better tell them or I think they might leave. So anyway, it was one of the most exciting days I have ever spent as an educator, and couldn't be prouder of Ike and his accomplishments. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie Huber, his coach, and Ike.
I don't know what's left to say. We were talking back there, and we said that we can count on less than one hand the number of times Ike was defeated in his 4 years of diving, and that's pretty amazing. And it's a pleasure. And Brad joked about it, but my job really was to stay out of Ike's way. Like I you know, like I'm here to support him mentally, and that's what our team did. But Ike really was pushing forward on his own and has great support from his parents and from his friends. And it's been an amazing privilege to just be a small part of his career. He was also on top of the state diving champion. He was NCC champion this year. Of course, he won sectionals and regionals. He broke both of his own diving records substantially. The 11 dive at NCC this year. So he not only did he win, but he improved on something that was so amazing last year. You know, when he set records, we're like, those scores are awesome. And he blew them out of the water this year. And so it was really fun. And when he decided that he was going to go back to state and try to repeat as the champion, one thing he did was he stepped up his game, and he said, I am going to practice more because he learned 2 new dives, at least 1 new dive. Yeah. But he would increase his degree of difficulty so that he knew that he would have a better chance of winning. Yeah. And so, you know, to go from already being so good to becoming even better is amazing. And most of you probably know that Ike is going to be attending Mizzou in the fall, and he'll be diving there. We did his signing already during season. So again, it's my pleasure just to be part of him, and Susan couldn't be here this evening either, so he was stuck with me. So, but it just amazes me, and you can talk. I don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, definitely would not be where I am today without the support of my parents, driving me to Indianapolis every day after school to go to practice at IUPUI, and then from Stephanie and Susan and all of our other coaches like Gary and Roger for being there at the morning practices and always telling me, come on, hurry up, go to work, go actually work out instead of sitting here on the bleachers and give me that little push. And then definitely Miss Whoopi being there for me every year, and it's just been an amazing support that I've gotten from the Richmond community and everybody out there. And just, it's been an amazing experience to be able to represent Richmond, not only athletically, but also academically, being able to say I'm the top of the state in my sport and also my class.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What are you going to study at Mizzou?
Biology, I think.
With intentions of?
I want to be a dentist when I'm older.
Very good.
I have to tell another quick story. The gentleman, Jake Query from Indianapolis, that does all of the TV commentating at the state meet, came up to me. He's a friend of my son's in Indianapolis, and he said, okay, Ray, I got to tell you something. He said, all these swimmers, they talk about, the camps they've gone to and the swimming pools. He said, when I talked to Ike, he said, what's the best thing about Mizzou? He said, they've got a great biology program. So I went, all right. I said,
Good
that's
for you.
Ike. That's
Good
Ike.
for you. That's amazing.
And the other thing is, I cannot express enough about Ike's parents. Ike's sister Miriam dove for us as well. But Mike and Kathy Camus are the epitome of dedicated parents, and I'd love for all of us to give them an applause.
Yes.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I was so impressed when I saw it, and then when I saw Ray run up and give you a hug. I was like, oh my God, that dude is from Richmond. but I was impressed, and I just when you see somebody do something and that great accomplishment, and to do it for so long that you've done it, and it's just a drive and a determination, I just had to go back there and shake your hand, because I know that we're going to be seeing him at the Olympics, and I can't wait for that to happen. But my hat also goes off to, no pressure. My hat also goes off to his parents, because doing that takes a lot of work, a lot of things you have to put aside for your own personal self. And as a parent, I just want to thank you very much, from the bottom of my heart, for putting that much in your child and instilling him not only his swimming abilities, but also his education. And that comes from parents being by his side. So I thank you.
Well, and I've already told him, as soon as you break all the collegiate records, then I expect to see you in the Olympics. Because I watch them every winter and summer Olympics. I watch them all.
I do too.
So we hope to see you there.
I don't know much about diving, Ike, but I do know about work ethic.
Yeah.
And you clearly have that going for you, and I can't imagine the kind of time that you put in, and that's amazing.
Thank you.
I think Mizzou's lucky to have you, and I'm proud to say that you're going to be there. I think that's super exciting. And then I'm kind of curious, are you a little bit OCD?
Yes.
You got to have a third, then you got to have a second, then you
Yeah.
got to have a first.
Yeah.
Have to do it in order. Very, very good.
Yeah. Plan it out.
What happened those first 2 years? What's up with that? Oh, come on. Wow, slacker. First of all, to your parents, thank you very much. Miriam and Ike have been outstanding students representative of Richmond High School, not just athletics, but academics, going on ultimately to higher education. I know that we're going to be even prouder of you in the future, but you have served us very well. And I'm not talking about the dives, but I'm talking about everything that you've dove into since you've been at Richmond High School. And we wish you the very best. It's very proud knowing you, knowing your family and all, and I know that you're going to continue to do some amazing things.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Yes, absolutely.
Very well deserved.
All right, at this time, our scheduled reflection and celebration is our Student Digital Leadership Part 2. So if you'll remember, Mike Shunnison was here a couple of weeks ago and indicated that he had more to come, and so tonight we're going to see the final product.
Sort of this digital.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. No state title to talk about today, but we do have some pretty awesome things happening in our secondary buildings when it comes to student digital leadership. First and foremost, I want to show you a couple of videos to kind of encapsulate what's happening at Dennis and Tess Intermediate when it comes to student digital leadership. Our two intermediates currently have kids who are leading, and you'll see in the videos, the cause when it comes to supporting kids, supporting teachers, and really being student digital leaders in their building. And then I'll bring up Mr. Hill here in a minute to talk about what they're doing at the high school as well when it comes to student digital leaders. A year or so ago, we sent a group from CYS, Hibbard, the two intermediates, and then also the high school. We sent about 60 kids and about 10 adults to a student digital leadership conference, and they learned some things. They learned some things that they didn't want to do, or how to better themselves as student digital leaders, and then they brought some of that back to our buildings to try and grow a program, because we know that kids know so much about technology, maybe more than what they need to know, but the nice thing is they can support us and each other with digital leadership. So let's see if this works. little bit from Dennis, and then here's what Tess had to say.
At Test Intermediate, we have a busy group of young Hoosier digital leaders who are proficient in a wide range of media tools. They promote and model digital citizenship through informational videos and lead by example. As experienced bloggers, they understand the importance of clear, accurate communication skills. They test and use websites, apps, and editing software. When teachers venture out to try new tools or media activities, these digital leaders go into the classrooms to assist both the students and the teachers. They plan and offer workshops for our elementary students as well. Test students are leading the way in digital learning.
A little bit from our 2 intermediates, and then I'll bring up Mr. Hill, who is our e-learning specialist at the high school, and he's got a few students as well to talk about all that they do at RHS. Mr. Hill?
Thanks, sir. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Tonight I have Miranda Coyle and Alex Eastman with me. The way this is set up at the high school, each period in the e-learning center, we have 1 to 3 students down there to help out teachers or students, anybody that's having problems. Like Mr. Shunnison said, we went to a training last spring. We took a group of kids. Some of them ended up being part of the tech team, some didn't. Just depends on scheduling and things they can do like that. First semester, we were really focused on the rollout and working with technology to get the devices out there, make sure they were working. We had something like, when we first rolled them out, people wear their earbuds all the time, and so they would lay their earbuds on their keyboard, shut their laptop, put it in their bag, open their laptop in the next period, and surprise, their screens were busted. So those were the kinds of first things that we would teach the school about. So we would work with radio, TV, yearbook, and we would make little videos for Canvas and put them on the student page and get that information out to try to teach people about those things and get that rolling. Then semester 2 rolled around, and Alex wanted to do a survey for the teachers about how digital learning is going for them. So we created that survey, pushed it out through Canvas. They sent back all of their results, and we took all the data and we broke that down, and then we divvied up all the different projects that the teachers wanted to learn about. And so today you're going to see some of those. They don't see each other during the day, all the people on the team, so it's kind of interesting. So I saw in one of the middle school things they were talking about shared documents, and that's how we do all of our work. We just put it out on shared documents, so whenever they see it throughout the day, they can work with each other. So they work together even though they're never physically together. So it's kind of like skills like that that we focus on. Office 365 documents, what we did here, we had, especially the freshmen as they came in, they weren't used to things like naming their files. So they would come in and it was document 1 to document 87. Can you help me find this? We're going to have a problem here. So we've done some stuff where we show them how to name it, how to organize in folders, and then how to help them find their own documents and not have to look through 87 documents. One of the other things we're working on right now is voice to text. This is really interesting. It could be a student that's really high-end classes doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it's a lot faster for them to talk through their work than it is for them to type. It could be a student that really struggles with typing. It could be a kid with an injury, and they can't use their right hand. So we'll show them how to do an app, and so there was a lot of interest in voice to text, so one of the members of our team's working on that. Immersive Reader is an option inside of O365. So let's say that you really like to have the book read to you, and whatever the story is, it's not available on tape. We have a workaround where you can copy paste that into O365, and there's anything that's in text, it can be read to you. So that's really good for our ENL students, high ability. And the way we tested it in our office was Jessica said, let's try Dr. Seuss. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a mess. But it could actually read Dr. Seuss, and so that was really cool. And they come up with really neat ways to test stuff. It also has some grammar options in there, some text stuff. It's a pretty neat little deal. Easy Bib then, as we're coming to the end of the writing stuff. So there's a lot of research and things like that. We want to make sure we're getting our facts straight. So there's a Google app, there's all different kinds of apps, but one of these, Easy Bib, is the app that we've been using to help prevent plagiarism and also builds that citation for you as you go through. So by the time you're done, if you want to go back and double check something in your research, it's there for you too. I'll let Miranda tell you about Log and Light.
Okay,
She was also the one that came up with the shared document that is our presentation.
So
So for mine was, can you hear? Good. Okay. So Loggerlight is for analyzing and like in the science classes and chemistry, the teachers really found it useful on their computers to analyze the data in like labs. So she, one of the teachers, Miss Holly, wanted to get it on the computers, the students' laptops, but it was had to go through a bunch of other people. So I actually talked to her about it, and right now we're discussing getting it on the laptops, and it's free. So that was a really good thing.
Yeah, that's a really cool part of this process too. So the teachers have been using it. There's a student version, it's free. And so Miranda checked it out. She had talked with that teacher, and through that process, now it's going down the chain to see if it is something that we want to push out to all of the laptops. So that's what's really interesting. I mean, they're playing a key role in this process to test these things, see if it works, and then see if it's something that we want on all the machines. And it's pretty crazy. Like, that has some serious analytics to it. Nearpod. This is kind of cool. It's like PowerPoint on steroids. It's really, you can do all kinds of interactive things with it. You can put different presentations. You can have them all in one place. You can move it around. There's a lot of artsy stuff to it. So if you're tired of looking at PowerPoints, Nearpod's a good way to go with that. Which one was yours on that? Is that yours? This, why did I just steal Alex's?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
He's going to give you a much better description. I was like, into that, I was like, this is Alex.
So what's really great about Nearpod is that it's like a PowerPoint, but infinitely better. There's lots more things you can do with it outside of text and pictures. You can import videos. You can take polls and quiz questions. You can have your students draw things on their laptop and then show them on like a large screen. There's like different 3D models you can use, which are pretty great. There's like virtual reality field trips as well. There's like all kinds of cool stuff you can do with this. And it's really nice to kind of go beyond what a PowerPoint can do. And it helps teachers do a lot more, and it helps them get subjects across to their students in ways that are more interesting and more interactive, and help keep students on task and engaged. And that's one of the principal problems that we've found, is that with everybody having a computer, it oftentimes ends up being a large distraction. But when the teacher controls the pace of a presentation and is able to go through it and have the students do different stuff along the way to show that they're being engaged, it's much easier to manage a classroom that way and keep everybody focused. So, thank you.
Good. Thank you.
You did much better.
Jeremy,
than that.
yeah. Hey, that's why I have them.
Just saying.
No shame in my game. By the way, Alex is part of the speech team that won sectionals this past week.
Oh, wow. That's
so
awesome.
congratulations to them and Alex.
Bravo.
Very cool. Flipgrid. This is a really good video feedback thing. So if you wanted to post a question to a class, a lot of people are using this for the opening of school, to meet your parents, to meet the teachers. They can record a simple, quick little video. It pops it up. You can put these neat little stickers on yourself after you've taken your picture, and then you click play, and boom, that little video tells you all about that person or these people. So it's a really interesting way to meet like that. Also for discussion questions, things like that. You can have a big idea question about, like if we're taking schools, what do we need to do to keep students safe in schools? Then each kid could record their own little video piece, post it. You could go through and watch different people's. You can comment on below it, like in a threaded thing, like on Facebook. That's some of the stuff that Flipgrid can do. Bell ringers, stuff like that. Online galleries, this is pretty cool. So you do all these projects. You remember when you were a kid and you had like the science fair or poster projects, then you walked around and looked at all of them. Well, now you can do it virtually. You can have all kinds of, you can embed videos, you can embed questions, you can make it interactive with the people that are watching it. And this is kind of how this works too. It goes right in with Canvas, and then you can teach the rest of the people the things that are going on. You can use Google Slides, you can use PowerPoint. So we are a Microsoft school, but we do all kinds of stuff through Google too. So I think that's really interesting. We've talked about that a lot early on. Should we try to just stay Microsoft? But we use both, and everyone seems to like that pretty well. And it's going to be good because when they go to college, they're going to be familiar with both. Screencastify, is something, that was the first project we did from Alex's survey with the teachers, because we knew we were going to have all these different apps, products, tools, things that people wanted to use. So we wanted to come up with these short little slides to show them what they are. Then at the bottom, what we're going to do is we have a link where they click on it, and you watch the kids walk you through on their computer how to use these things. And Screencastify is the app that we're using for that. And so this is an example here. Padlet is our last piece. It organizes images and text. It's easy to share or other students in a group. And it's different than what a project looks like because it's so artsy. And I can show you here. So like on the bottom of this one, if you thought you might want to use Padlet, you could click on it. And this is the Screencastify for how to download and use Screencastify. There's the sounds off here, and that's no big deal. But it's showing you how to just walk through. It's going to do all those different things, and then when it gets there, it's going to show you what that screen looks like. So we can do this for any kind of tool that a person's interested in using. So a teacher could say, I'm interested in doing this with my class, or they could say, hey, I heard about this, what is it? And so they just drop us an email, put it in our list, we throw it on the board, one of the kids picks it, they figure it out. Here's what it is, here's 3 bullet points about why you might want to use it, and here's a link if you actually do decide you want to use it, here's how you download it, here's what you do with it, blah, blah, blah. And so we tag their name to it, and even if they're not in class that period, like if Miranda's helping a science teacher, and that science teacher has 5th period prep, and she's in chemistry 5th period, it's no big deal because she can do it through Canvas, she can do it through a shared doc, she can send them the links. So really, they're teaching people, but they're doing it through distance, and we don't have to be together at the time to do that. So that's just kind of what it looks like, and you can see as the screen flip through. This one, Isaiah is showing us how to use Padlet, but they learned Screencastify from Hollingsworth and Connor. They made the Screencastify video and taught them how to do it, so then they went through and did all that. So it's really pretty cool. But those are the kinds of things. We have a huge Padlet of 70 different apps and stuff like that people are using around the country right now that are kind of the most popular ones. And so we can use that once we get through all of our information from the survey. So that's really kind of what we do. We also, we have the help desk, so if students have problems, they come in and the kids help them out. Early on, it was like cracked screens and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Proxy servers was the big thing for a while, and that's really come to a halt, so that's been good. But whatever the problem of the day might be, that's kind of what we do. Questions?
I just want to say these kids are amazing. Right. They are amazing. That's wonderful.
Alex, do you charge by the hour?
I'll just echo my statement with Ms. Hoover. Congratulations, Mr. Hill, on staying out of the way of the kids. Take over.
Get the right people in the right direction and get out of the way.
Mr. Hill, so I know you're pretty senior heavy, and that goes with scheduling, but it's nice to see. How many younger folks do you have in your crew?
Actually, our first slide, that's how we did it. We divvied it up. The seniors are on the left, so let's check. Also, another one that's already graduated, Josh Watson. He was an intern student, so he came to us from Mrs. Selm in the business department, and he worked with technology for 3 periods a day in the morning, and I'm glad Miranda got him on the list. And he was a rock star first semester. Graduated early, went to Ivy Tech, and he's in their program. He wants to get into cryptology and some of the other crazy behind-the-scenes numbers stuff that none of us really want or need to know about tracking data and stuff like that. Yeah, and he is really good. And he was amazing because he was super good at the back end, but he was also good at the application side. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seniors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 juniors, and that's a perfect mix. And then what we do is, like, these guys help recruit other people, and kids that come in and get help, they say they're interested and they talk to teachers, other teachers send people down. So that's kind of our number that we have right now, and yeah, it's a good mix. But yeah, we're always looking forward to build that next group. That's important. So.
We don't allow sophomores to be clericals, do we?
No, because they don't have any openings in their schedules yet. So really their junior year is when they first get the opportunity to have that. Yep.
You mentioned what Josh is doing. Alex and Miranda, what are your plans after you graduate in a year?
Well, perhaps I really should have thought more about that.
Never mind. I never thought I could stump you.
But no, I like to keep my options open and
okay.
See what I've got for me in the future. But That's what I really like about doing stuff like this, is that I get acquainted with all different kinds of stuff, and then I can make a better informed decision.
Wow.
Very smart.
And I want to go to IU Bloomington and go into nursing and pediatric nurse.
Okay.
I just have a small plug. Josh got the alumni scholarship.
He's going to be a rock star. I can tell you.
Did you guys bring anybody with you tonight?
Your dad's here, Al.
Yeah.
Your mom? You want to introduce her to us?
This is Jennifer Service, who works at BAM.
Welcome. And Alex?
This is Eric Eastman, and he's much more tech savvy than I am.
He's more tech savvy.
Kidding.
Wow. There you go. We appreciate you guys
Thank
being
you.
here tonight.
Thank you.
Rob, you're gonna.
Oh, I was just going to mention Josh. He did work with our tech department, and you know, he was embedded with us and did a lot of stuff with the laptops and helped us out. When we have students of that nature, we don't give out any top secret, you know, passwords or anything like that. But he went as far as he could to help us out. He did an excellent job and was very good with users as well as, you know, the tech. So.
I knew we were planning on having a student crew, which I thought was awesome, but clearly it's brilliant. I mean, the idea of letting students work their way through those apps and then helping them teach others, including teachers, it's brilliant.
The networking part is what's so amazing because, I mean, her individual little project has led all the way to, there's a possibility that it's going to go to all the laptops. And maybe that's the best solution and maybe it's not. And even if it doesn't end up there, her project is a monumental success.
That's brilliant.
Like when we had those cracked screens early from the earbuds, it was amazing how fast we were able to reverse that trend just by getting it on announcements, getting on all the
I was
social
going to
media
ask that.
sites,
So you have
school newspaper.
physically, you have seen the difference?
Oh, at the
definitely,
beginning of
yeah.
the year, they had help desk tickets. We don't do it anymore now because we don't need to, but every time a kid came in and had an issue, we would document the kid's name, what the issue was, what we did to solve it. So then that kind of helped train us on, so if first period she's having this problem and third period he's having it, we know that we've been seeing it a lot and here's what we're doing to fix it. And once we saw that trend, we would push out a fix to the whole building so that we could stop it before it got out of hand. And we were also worried that we would have a bunch of kids leaving class all the time to come down and hang out, or I need to get this checked. So we wanted to track names and make sure people weren't leaving class too much and stuff, but that was never an issue. And now we catch things so quick that we didn't need to track those numbers. But we did that. We just had a Google form, and every time they came in, they would, on their Canvas page, they click a button, they fill out the form, it dumps into a huge Excel sheet. But we didn't have to do that second semester because it was so fast to fix it first semester.
Just the fact that you reverse the trend that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's huge. It's really cool. And the high school kids are so good about understanding the issue. Like that proxy server thing, I mean, that's a life skill, and that's something that's always going to be a
Absolutely.
temptation. And for them to reverse course on it so quick, to understand what the problem is and to fix that, that's what's really cool, to see how this applies moving forward. And the biggest thing that makes Richmond different from all the other schools on this is when our kids leave, they're going to know how to use an LMS. Most colleges use Canvas already,
Yes.
but even if they use the second one, which is Blackboard, it's no big deal at all because they're going to know how to do that. If they're using Office 365 as a cloud-based program, our kids are ready for that. If they're using Google, that's
They'll know.
fine, they're ready
That's
for that
amazing.
too. And so when a kid isn't, like when Josh went to school, he came back and he said, "Hill, you don't understand, none of them know how to use," and Ivy Tech uses Canvas. He said, all my classes, all I do is like try to teach them how to use Canvas. He said, they
Exactly.
don't even have time to learn the stuff we're doing because
They need
don't
to
know how
pay
to
'em.
get to the stuff to do it. And so that's, like, to see it this immediate is
That's very
huge. And
quick.
the investment that we're putting into the students is going to pay off down the road is much bigger than even the returns we're seeing now. So
I just want to enunciate what you're saying. There's no one else around this area is doing the same thing.
no, not even close. I mean, there are some people that have Canvas, which is a learning management system, and
But-
so they'll say they use Canvas, but that isn't really
So
real.
again-
Because like all these things that you're seeing here that they're working on are just little bitty pieces of what teachers and students can do within Canvas. So it's like saying, I bought a new computer. Okay, but what are you doing with it? Well, I bought a new computer. Yes, you did. You bought it. But what can you do with it? And so what they're doing here is all the what can you do with, and the depth and the breadth. So like even in these, we just picked the ones that are working right now. It's going to help kids on all ends and all spectrums in all kinds of classes. So it's not, we're not just doing this with the advanced kids. That's what's super cool. So.
And I was gonna say, Mike, you took the teachers on the road. It's time to take the kids on the road. They're good, they're good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. Last year I was able to see the group from Test in the video at Charles in action, and they actually went into a classroom and took over the classroom for an hour. Wow. And worked with those students, and now many of those students are at Test involved in the program there. So it's really, these guys are doing a great job. Our intermediate kids are doing a great job reaching down, and kudos to all of you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, if you guys are ever in the building, stop by.
Yeah, thanks for coming out too. That's
you.
amazing.
Parents, thank you for being here.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
I feel like that deserves a round of applause too. Yeah. I know. Mind blown. Okay. Okay, so our next agenda item is public commentary, but we don't have anyone signed up, so we will move on to the consent agenda items.
For our consent items this evening, I bring to you for your consideration 4.01, the approval of minutes, 4.02, human resources, 4.03, accounts payable, 4.04, our monthly financial report, and then 4.05, grants.
Okay, do you have a motion to accept the consent items as presented?
Question, does the human resources also reflect the addendum?
I'm sorry, yes, I should have mentioned that, yes, the addendum that was at your desk this evening.
I move to approve the consent items as presented with the addendum.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second from Dixie. Any comments or questions?
I had a question regarding an HR. How many references and how do we document them do we typically require?
Jennifer?
A minimum of 3, and we have it both electronic and just manually. But the actual application process sends out, the applicant will list references. It'll send an electronic questionnaire to the person, and then that is return receipt through the SearchSoft program.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of approving the consent items as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. We have a series of action items.
Thank you. Our first action item this evening is 5.01, donations. I want to ask Mrs. Scalf to speak to this, please.
Good evening. Tonight we have a number of in-kind donations received this month, and from those donors that I will list: Muddy Monkey, Needlers, Armstrong Cleaners, IU East Microbiology Department, Hothead Burritos, and Harrington Hoke. Harrington Hoke actually donated funds in the amount of $1,500 toward the athletic department basketball banner. Then Jan Dargy has donated $50 to the Civic Hall Proudly Presenting Series. Tonight I ask approval from the board of the $2,012 in value for donations during the month of February.
Do I have a motion to accept the donations as presented?
All motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brad, second by Aaron. Any comments or questions, other than we always say a giant thank you? These kinds of donations make it possible for us to do the little extras and sometimes the meat and potatoes of our work here, so it's very much appreciated. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Hearing none opposed, we'll go on to the second reading of policy 7661.
So we brought that to you before, and at this time we just ask for your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve the policy, the changes. There were some slight changes, I think, to policy 7661.
I'll motion. Or go ahead.
Okay.
Motion by Brad Walton, second by
second it.
Dixie Robinson. Any comments or questions? There was a little bit of conversation before. Most of this policy is very much reflective of DOT requirements. I just wanted to sort of reiterate that. I know we were kind of skirting around that last time, but it mostly reflects those requirements. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And then we're on to the request to advertise food service.
Yes, so 5.03, our request to advertise. I'm going to ask Mr. Tidrow if he'd speak to that, please.
Thank you. Richmond Community Schools will receive bids for food service supplies for the 2018-2019 school year on Thursday, April 12th, 2018, up to 2 p.m. prevailing local time. The notice to bidders will be published in the Palladium item on Friday, March 2nd, 2018, and Friday, March 9th, 2018. Proof of publication will be on file in the Business Affairs Office. All bids and bid documents received will be on file at Central Kitchen. This bid will be analyzed, and a recommendation could possibly be made at the May 9th, 2018 board meeting. Recommendation: the administration recommends that the Board of School Trustees approves the permission to advertise for the food services bid.
Okay, do I have a motion to honor the request to advertise for food service bids?
So moved.
Motion by Debbie.
Second.
Second by Erin. Any further comments or questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, we will move on to the e-learning, which I am super excited to hear about.
Okay, so 5.04 this evening is our e-learning snow makeup recommendation. And we're going to actually hear from Mrs. O'Brien and Dr. Reynolds on this. So Jennifer, as you start, please.
It's recommended that the Board of School Trustees approve an amendment to the 17-18 school calendar. The amendment includes the addition of e-learning days. And before we call for a motion, I ask that Dr. Reynolds explain a little bit about what e-learning days are.
Sure, thank you. It's kind of like the master planning process where it's hard to have one conversation without the other. So what we've been doing up to this point, before we got to the position that we believe that we're really close to being able to do this, we've been working really hard with the directors, the principals, teachers, and other administrators in the building. Parents, we've tried to engage parents and students as well to gather input about an e-learning day as an option. Conversations started well before, but in December, we did a practice e-learning day, and across the district, every building, every classroom was asked to do so. Varied on times and dates, but we asked each classroom to do that, and that classroom was to students were to work independently on assignment. We asked that they answer or ask questions via Canvas, via email, some other media besides just raising your hand and asking the teacher to come over to help. After that day, we gathered some input through surveys to teachers. Recently, got a survey out to parents and asking them how that day went for them. Following that practice day, we had some more committee work. Through our e-learning committee, we had additional conversation with administrators and REA about the feasibility of what this day could look like, how feasible it was that we could do this and let it be a productive day for students. We know that we're never going to be able to replace a day with students, but we also believe that this is an important skill that our kids can begin to work on now, and yet be a very productive day for students and teachers. What a day would look like from the conversations we'd have, that Saturday, teachers would have to have learning objective posts. And let me back up. There's a few things that you have to do per the Indiana Department of Education with the e-learning day. That Saturday, they would have to have their learning objectives uploaded into Canvas by 9 a.m. That day. You have to have a method for taking attendance, and we believe we have some good viable options to do that. but then you don't have to have the work completed that day by 3 o'clock that day. You can set a window as long as really the school or the corporation deems would be sufficient. Our recommendation is that we would set that window for a week to work on the assignments or to complete the tasks that were listed per that learning objective on Saturday. We had a lot of conversations about folks that don't have internet access or technology at home. Talked about opening labs on Saturday, opening labs after school through the week following that e-learning day, just ensuring folks have access to technology if they need technology to do that. Some of the assignments I'm sure will be opening up Canvas. Hey, maybe a video from the teacher. Hey guys, make sure you have, go outside, get some exercise, do 15 jumping jacks, 10 push-ups. Some other activities might be, make sure you have your daily reader, you're reading and responding and giving a summary of this story, this assigned story. It'll look many different ways. But we believe that we have a good process in place and can be an engaging, quality day for students.
And it won't all be technology driven?
It will not all be technology driven. I know it sounds bad when you say packets, but all I mean, we're not, we've been very direct in talking about not just completing worksheets, but a packet is okay, especially if you know ahead of time, like, hey, I really don't have good internet, reliable internet at home. Having documents ready for the student to take home. Not necessarily worksheets, because that's not, we're just not drill and kill or anything like that, but some of it will be hard copy. I mean, I just think that's part of what we do.
And can you talk a little bit about how the evolution at the 3 different levels, how we've gotten to this point with the teachers?
Yeah. It's just like any other initiative. You saw that the high school, I mean, they're heavily involved e-learning, and you know, they reached out, I think, after the day of the first snow day, and they were like, hey, we have a snow day today, we're going to do e-learning day. We're like, well, I don't think we're there yet, but it's easy.
They were ready.
And Ray's nodding. And you get to the intermediate, and just like an intermediate, you think you have some folks that are racing and way down the road, and some more reluctant learners. And then I think the same is true for the elementary. I think that if on December 1st, or the 1st of December, or mid-December, when we did that practice day, we had a lot of questions, a lot more questions than answers. And then now I think you look at the analytics for folks using Canvas or technology, or just understanding the Canvas as a resource is far passes any of our expectations. We kind of, Mike is the one that applied for the e-learning day option through the state, just really as just in case. I mean, we really didn't think we would be this far along at this point, but we really believe we are, just through our conversations that we've had with our teachers and staff and students and parents. It's been an exciting journey for folks.
Questions?
I've got a couple. Do we have any kind of idea of what percentage of our students don't have internet at home?
Well,
I know that's an on-spot question. I should have presented that to you earlier.
No, it's okay. It varies. We from the information that we got at registration, do you have internet access at home? It's a surprisingly high number. We didn't really pull apart or disaggregate that enough to know if it's on your phone, is it Wi-Fi, is it wired, is it walking down to McDonald's down the road. So we're going to be a little more intentional this year. The survey, the parent survey we sent out, we only had about 170 responses, I believe, and it was a little more specific there. And at that point, we had about 75, I think, % of folks that said that they had Wi-Fi access at home.
Okay. I will say, Dr. Reynolds, the last 2 years we have asked those questions on our registration. We get about 80% that register. And we ask, do you have internet? And we ask, do you have Wi-Fi? Because that's the critical piece. Yeah. And it's in the 80%. Now, does that mean that they have access in their home? And I think that's where the survey is nice, because the questions were asked, Do you have it at home, or do you have it at your friend's house, or do you have it around the
That's
block?
one of the things
So-
during the
so-
tech initiative meetings.
Right.
I mean, I actually brought that up too. Was when you ask someone if they have internet, they're like, "Oh yeah, see, I got 3 bars." No,
It
that's
was the
data.
Wi-Fi. There was a big
Okay,
question we
so-
asked these
okay.
last 2 years in
What was the
registration.
Wi-Fi
so
percentage?
it was in the 80%. So
Okay.
20 without.
of the ones that
At least.
registered.
The reason I was asking goes with the reports that came out here in the past couple of weeks with, really dictates the poverty in the area. 20 to 25% of kids actually suffer from childhood hunger and things like that. That's why I was getting in it with that, is just to see if we had a real number on that. And my second question is, for the staff that is not on a teacher's contract, is on an administration contract and things like that, how will they be making up the snow days?
Well, we have lots of different employee groups, and we've had discussion about that. But ultimately, we won't change anyone's calendar or do anything until we have approval for this, and then we'll have to go through and look at each individual employee group. For example, administrators were mentioned, but they work on the snow day and they work on the makeup day, so there's really no impact to their contract. We also talked about and going along with the Wi-Fi issue.
Put that out, just so people, so if school is canceled, administrators still come in?
That's correct.
Okay.
And for example, we talked about the fact that you have a week to complete these assignments, and maybe offering some extended computer lab time. So we'll look at staffing those with employees that maybe missed out on some hours on a snow makeup day.
Thank you.
Chuck, can you open it up a week prior? So could we expect the assignments to be listed that Monday with Saturday the target date, then the week following? I mean, I'm thinking if I know that's coming Saturday, then I can download my materials. I can prep myself if I don't have access. The state may not allow that. And if you have obsessive compulsive kids that want their Saturday free and don't want to have it known, I mean, it'd be nice if they could knock that out through the week possibly.
Yeah.
At least earlier in the week.
Yeah, and I don't know, I guess that it would, I think that is an option. I think more importantly, what you said is so they can download material. So if they don't have something, or make sure they have access, or I venture to say that first one, if we can get there, that first one, they will take that first week to plan, say, hey, don't forget, this is what we're gonna do. So I think that's an option, absolutely. I'll follow up though.
Well, you would think if you can go later, why wouldn't you be able to go forward?
Well, like I said, if you're able to last a week, then why,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah. Something I forgot to mention too, I looked down at my notes, was some office hours. So you set a time that you're available to take,
yes, that makes sense.
to take questions from students too.
Through Canvas or whatever.
Yeah.
Email.
Yeah, through Canvas or email is what we're suggesting. I know there's ways, so you can have Google numbers, Google phone numbers where it could go in and they're anonymous. But set those hours so you can be available to answer questions. That does not have to be on Saturday, but I think right now we're hoping that most of those hours will be on Saturday. But maybe not. Maybe those hours are best served Monday, from 5 to 7, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know, but.
Well, speaking of Saturday, let's talk about what that does to the teachers, and that Ari's been involved in that and discussion and all that too, right?
Yeah.
That was, they're on board with Saturdays.
Yeah, and the conversation, why we picked 3 dates as options on the calendar for set one, a month in advance, so we can prepare and have conversations, and that'd be the target if we could use that date. If not, we have one in a couple weeks following that, and if it goes well, we can have one or use that second one the following week. We purposely set those up so that we could have those days, come back, have some REA discussion with the union to see what our successes was, or see what the successes or areas for growth are, and address those. If we feel we're a good spot, we could use it the following week. If we say, hey, we're going to need a couple more weeks to
to get prepared, or, hey, this did not work very well. Let's leave the snow makeup day, the last snow makeup day where it is, and we'll try to put our Lincoln logs back together next time.
And it
Really
really
good
follows
strategy.
what we've asked our teachers to do this year, and that is to be willing to go out and take risk, and that we would support them in doing that. We really feel like in this, I mean, we've brought it up to them, but we really feel like they're pushing us to step out and take risk. And like you, we have reservations and concerns, but that's part of the growing process. I mean, if we would have talked about what these kids did tonight when we passed Power Up, you know, at this amount of time, I mean, we're not even a full year in with our kids, and look what they're doing, you know, so we have to be willing to be pushed.
I also think it's a golden opportunity for teachers to hammer in job soft skills about responsibility, getting your work done on time, a good work ethic, you know, all those kind of things that actually play into this. And trust. I mean, trust to get the things done.
On meeting a deadline a week out, you know, how are you going to time out your work, and you know when the availability of teachers are going to be, and just helping kids through that, I think is kind of a neat additional feature of it. But I know that I was in a couple of schools during the practice, and I heard, you know, and then I also heard people like, hey, let's go. You know, the first snow day we had, we're like, hey, are we ready? Are we going to do an e-learning? Let's go. So
Jennifer was in the grocery store, and someone asked her if they could upload tonight. And she's like, no.
No, I think that's
Rob?
Just want to remind the board that part of the Office 360 package is an email component, which is Outlook, and all students have an email through that.
Sure.
And it's very controlled. Only our staff and I think IU University can actually send stuff to students. So no one else can send to the students through our student email. So those students can send out to their teachers and so forth. So that's a great opportunity for them to learn other skills. But it is very protected.
Well, and the
so.
idea you've said a number of times, our students will be working into whatever 20 whatever. The or sort of virtual workplace that's just a real deal, and so the idea of sort of practicing that too is intriguing to me with kids and teachers.
Chuck tried to try that virtual workplace a couple days ago. I said, no dice, my friend.
How do we measure if this is what we want to do?
That's a good question.
I mean, are we just going to say e-learning is part of life and we're just continue to improve that process, or are we going to say, I mean, do we even know how we would decide that?
Yeah, I think this through continued conversations. We're gonna continue to put together surveys, but you know how difficult it is to get good response from surveys. But just again through discussion with our teachers and our administrators and our student groups, it's going to be important. There's been conversations about requiring a class be online through the state. That's not gone through yet, but they've had a lot of discussion about requiring all students to take one online course.
Ooh, boy.
So I think,
as a requirement for graduation, just to prepare them for distance learning and other opportunities for the future.
Require that.
Well, and
That's kinda weird.
I know.
And we wouldn't go there unless the
Yeah, I
legislature
understand.
made us move in that direction. And fortunately, we've been able to fend that off as of this time. It hasn't even been brought up in this legislative session. So we're wondering if maybe it's dying down because they realize it's better to leave it up to the local control. And the fact that most districts are moving already in such a direction, as you saw with our kids tonight, that's not something that needs to be legislated. Let the educational process take care of itself.
But you will have some data. I mean, you'll have online time, you'll have assignments completed, you'll have, percentages and how soon did they get them in, and, did they use the whole week, did they use part of the week? I mean, I would think you would have some
and it'd be
usable
interesting
data
to
there.
see, how folks, because, some kids show up to school every day and some do homework and some don't do any work. I mean,
Right.
so it'd be interesting to see how that participation with completing those assignments is, how that other side of the coin looks when
I'd
it's.
be more interested in seeing the percentage of the kids that log on during the Saturday hours to where if we eventually had a snow day on Tuesday next year and decided to do an e-learning day, are we going to get that feedback from those kids to participate? That's what I'd be more interested in seeing.
Yeah, and I think the same holds true, is that you could, on a snow day, you could call it that day by 9 a.m. that morning. You have to have your learning objectives updated.
Right.
But then you could still have.
You can give them a week
You can still give them that window
Yeah, I think,
to complete.
you know, the Saturday component, I mean, so many kids have, and
Stuff.
teachers too, just, you know, our calendar's full and it's, I think we need to, if we're gonna start encroaching on that time, be pretty,
Well, how will that play into a teacher that is coaching an extracurricular? Well, are they going to have office hours during the week then instead of on the Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how that flexibility comes into play, where they can have those office hours.
Or for instance, if they're traveling, say, to Logansport for a track meet and it's a 3-hour drive, well, they could have office hours for 3 hours on the way up and 3 hours on the way back on their phone, checking emails and looking at it that way too.
Then I'm going to play devil's advocate there. Then you're asking a teacher to use
You're right.
their data
You're right.
too.
And we're not telling them they have to.
Right,
We're just
I'm
saying that it's an option.
Right.
you
I'm
know?
just okay.
And that's one of the things that as we sat around discussion table here with them, that they brought up, you know, what's the flexibility? Do we have to be at a computer doing this? Can we be, you know, one of them said, can we be at Kings Island in line answering emails? Well, technically, as long as you're responsive to your kids, yeah, that fits. So.
Kings Island, answering emails.
Any other questions that we can answer for you? If not, we bring this recommendation to you as presented.
All right, I would like to, I guess, have we had a motion? We did, right? We've been talking, we did not have a motion.
We had the presentations.
Thank you,
Yep.
okay. So do I have a motion to approve the e-learning calendar I guess it's calendar change is really what we're approving, yes?
Yes.
The changes to the calendar regarding e-learning.
I'll motion.
So Brad makes a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Aaron makes a second. About had our discussion, I believe, but all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed. Let's talk summer school offerings.
All right, Dr. Reynolds, would you address this, please?
Awesome. Good evening again. It is my recommendation that the board approve the RCS summer school program for the elementary and intermediate levels, beginning June the 11th and ending June 29th. Classes will be held from 9 to 1 p.m. with breakfast and lunch served. Summer school will provide instruction that is standards-based, rigorous, and hopefully enjoyable to students for students in grades kindergarten through 7th. Teachers will again develop course proposals and provide innovations similar to previous summer sessions. Field trips will be available that match the topics and standards.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the summer school offerings as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Debbie, second. Second by Dixie. Do you have a targeted number of students?
We usually have 1 to 2 sections per grade level, so you know, just depending on the demand. I'm very excited that we're going to have the opportunity. There's been some change in language with the IDOE and the ability to offer that to our intermediate students.
I'm really
excited.
6 and
Really
7 is
big.
new, right?
Yeah.
We went fifth to fifth last year?
Fourth.
Fourth,
Yeah.
okay, so 5, 6, 7.
5, 6, 7. And then, you know, those 8th graders they have actually the opportunity to take high school credit
Right.
in summer school. So just really excited about extending the school year a little bit and giving some additional support to those kids. And, you know, similar to the elementary design, that those intermediate classrooms look like those elementary, very, very collaborative and project-based and just some different, just some different things that we're, again, looking for, like the other elementary summer school offerings.
Very good.
I'm sorry, Dixie.
Oh, this is off the subject, but kind of on the subject about our kids will have food service during the summer, all summer.
Rob?
I'm sorry.
She's asking about
service
food
our kids.
program during the summer. We plan on participating in that again this
Oh,
summer.
yes, yes, definitely, and having different sites around the city, so,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, he mentioned breakfast and
Yes,
lunch
and
at
then
summer
the,
school.
At summer school, then we'll have other sites.
Yeah, and so
Where
I
kids
just
can
want
walk
to make
up
sure
and be served, so.
with our situation, that worries me.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
And it varies depending on the day. If it's raining, you don't get as much, but we wanna have that opportunity for kids to walk up. And it's open for any kid, any person up to the age of 18, regardless of where they go to school.
Do we have numbers on that from
We
previous
can get
years?
those.
I was just curious.
We have those.
And were you gonna ask about location? Because that was one
Yes.
thing I was gonna ask too.
Yeah, we're looking at Hibbard.
Okay.
Just of the variety of students they serve already might better suit the wider variety of students, with the intermediate to elementary ages. And keep it at one location.
Well, the one location makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Might have a little buses location. All right, hearing no further comments. All those in favor of approving the summer school offerings as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and then we have a speech team overnight trip.
Dr. Reynolds, if you'd speak to that, please.
Absolutely. One last action item, if you would. The Richmond High School speech team with Mr. Swango competing in Fishers. I believe it's the state meet. If I'm not mistaken, it's the state meet, and you qualify for sectionals. That's why you see the number is to be determined. They would leave after school on Friday, March the 9th, head down to Fishers, drop their bags off, head over for the orientation, and then they work that evening to kind of do last minute preparations before the competition on Saturday. Just asking for your approval this evening for the speech team overnight trip to Fishers High School.
Do I have a motion for approval?
I
of this
so
trip?
move.
Motion by Dixie Robinson, second?
Second.
Second by Aaron. Any questions, comments?
Well, I think this is another group that we need to give a big shout out to because they have done a fabulous job.
Terrific season, absolutely.
So,
Well, it's been a growing process because it was a resurgence, and so I think it's important to note that teachers have taken that on and grown it back again, and I think that's super important to understand that it's like the whole idea of feeder system that applies to other things as well, and I think that's pretty exciting. So. No further questions? All those in favor of approving the trip signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are to our board reports and old business, and there's nothing listed there, but
I'd like to give an update on the master planning process and where we are at right now. One of the things that we need to determine tonight is when we are going to close our online surveys. If you'll remember, the last update I gave you was February 23rd, and at that time we had 308 surveys taken. As of today, we have 320 surveys that have been taken. So it has slowed down. But what I would like to recommend is that we have Bridget make a real push on social media to get this back out there again, have a series of one calls to try and get that last push and look at closing this Monday morning. So that way we give people over the weekend to go on and actually complete the surveys. And then from there start to gather that information. Does that sound acceptable to everyone?
sounds reasonable. Giving them a lot, sort of a reminder, like
Okay.
last chance.
We'll move forward with that then. Then what we plan on doing then is, at our next board meeting, we would like to bring Bill Payne back and have him do a summary of all of the community input meetings regarding programs as well as the surveys, and bring that all in. And then that following board meeting would actually be the summation report of all of the information brought together and presented to the board, and look at it in that manner. So really looking for input from you guys to see if that fits what you're thinking, what your needs are as a board, and any thoughts on that.
So you're thinking survey, this like sort of survey compilation, is that what you're talking about in the first March meeting?
The surveys as well as all of the input
And the
from the
meetings,
community
and the
meetings.
community meetings,
Mhm.
okay.
And then the following one would be kind of that capstone report of the process.
Okay, that brings up another subject that we need to address
Right, which
tonight
we'll
is
get
that.
to at the,
Yeah, okay.
if we can at the
Okay,
next one.
yep,
And that's
okay.
why I said with the next meeting and the following meeting.
Okay, I
because we got
gotcha.
a couple of
I
options we
gotcha.
need to talk through there.
Okay. Any comments about that? I mean, that seems reasonable timing, I think. Giving an extra opportunity for input is good. Okay. Do you want to talk about, the March meetings?
Well, let's do that. Let's wait and do that at the upcoming
Oh,
meeting,
gotcha,
section on
gotcha,
number
gotcha,
8.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I guess, does that mean, oh, do you have anything legislative? I know Dixie
Yes,
went
yeah.
to the, didn't we have a forum?
We did have we had a meeting out at IU East, and I'll let Dixie kind of summarize that if she would.
Well, they talked a lot about work ethic and workforce development. And
were they all there?
Correct.
They were.
Pardon me? Yes, they were
Legislators
all
all
there.
there?
All
Okay.
3 were there. Larger crowd than I've seen in a long
Good.
time. Much larger. There was about, I think, 30-some people.
Mhm.
So that was good. Talked a lot about wages and raising wages. And then we did talk about the diplomas, trying to keep it the 4, segregated at the 4. And
They talk about legislating work ethic?
Well,
no, they were
why
talking-
not, right? And then they try to
Curiosity, I
legislate
was-
everything else.
They were talking about, that there's a lot of highly skilled jobs open in Indiana, and people aren't taking advantage of the opportunities that they have to get those skills, to get the good-paying jobs.
Okay.
That was the thrust of the
Yeah.
meeting.
And to add to that, so while nothing is finalized yet, we feel like that the 4 diplomas that they're looking at is really a step in the right direction. Legislatively, they are looking at giving us that option in the Core 40 diploma to have something different than Algebra 2, which has been a major stumbling block for a lot of students, and not necessarily a skill that is needed for every student. The other thing was, obviously, as we have talked here with the shortfall in student funding, they have agreed to correct that and also plan to correct it for next year. And so there's still, this is the time between now and the end of the session where things start to get tagged back onto bills. And if Suzanne brought a bill and she wants my support for it, and I have a bill that got defeated, I try to go back and sneak it onto hers for support. And so we're playing that game right now, looking at what that is. There's a big one right now that's going around that you may hear from ISBA regarding, I think it's 1001, House Bill 1001, and that's looking at no longer supporting 4th grade students in kindergarten, or 4-year-old students in kindergarten in the ADM count. For us, that's really not a huge deal, because if our students, in order for our 4-year-olds to be enrolled in kindergarten here in Richmond Community Schools, they have to turn 5 by September 1st. With the ADM date, not until later in September, our kids would be qualified by that time, so.
Well, and you also encouraged them about the opt-out option on
Yes.
sex ed instead of opt-in.
Right, and so the sex ed bill is really a big deal, and I understand where the concern is coming from, where people don't want their kids necessarily, people trying to influence them that certain lifestyles are okay or not okay. The bigger issue that we have here in our community is we've seen an increase in sexual misconduct reports to CPS regarding children, and this doesn't just impact what you think of the birds and the bees conversation, if you will, in 5th grade or whatever that may be. This really this goes a lot further than that, with the good touch, bad touch, talking to our kids about boundaries, what's okay, what's not okay. and informing them. And so what we're asking them to do is much like I-STEP, which they changed last year, was where originally the schools were able to file an appeal on an I-STEP score, then they changed it that the parents had to make that appeal. Last year they changed that because most of the kids that needed the appeal came from homes where getting parents to respond back was really challenging. Just like this, that's what we're suggesting they do with this, is that they make it so that the parents would have to write in to opt them out or call in. Our curriculums are open, they can come in and see them at any time, but we just feel like it's really a crucial, as I've said before, every social issue becomes an educational issue, and, we need to do what we need to do for our kids.
And do they have more, is there one more?
One more, March 23rd, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
And it'll be at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it is in the newly renovated lobby of the main building.
White Water Hall?
Yes. At IU East.
Okay. All right, we are up to our press conference. Any questions from the media?
Actually, we skipped.
Yeah, we skipped.
Oh, we did, I'm sorry, I skipped over that. Well, hold that thought, no, I'm just kidding. Preview upcoming meetings.
So, one of the things that we discussed last board meeting is our second meeting in March is the 28th, and that is during spring break. And so we need to look at a couple of different options. One would be moving that meeting either a week earlier or a week later, which would give us meetings 2 weeks in a row. Another option that we could look at is not having that second meeting in March. And if we decide to go in that direction, one of the things that I would encourage you to consider is moving the March 14th meeting actually to the 21st. So then it would have 3 weeks between board meetings on both ends, rather than going a month without a board meeting.
For dockets and other things.
So we could move it, so it'd have 3 and 3, and then we're right back into the swing come April.
Okay.
So my recommendation would be, I think that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish going with that schedule, but again, that's up to all of you and looking for your input and what direction as to what you would like to do.
Does that require a vote? It does, doesn't it? For us to move it?
Well, it requires notice under the open door law, but I mean, you can do it by consensus if that's your pleasure.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, we have plenty of notice. We have plenty of time to give notice, but I just don't know if we had to officially and formally vote, but, any thoughts on that, guys? The recommendation is to one meeting in March on the 21st?
I'm okay with that.
No.
I can't do the 21st.
Okay. Is that,
I've got one of my other board meetings that I preside over, but I can
scoot things around? Okay. What do you think? The solution?
I don't know, I mean, if it's good or not.
Let's see, do we have, we don't really have, if we're gonna have to give notice, we probably need to decide, or at least, I feel like we're not coming up with consensus here, so what should our options be?
You can canvass them, can't you?
I'll go with the pleasure board, and if it would be on the 21st, or, yeah, I'll just make adjustment.
What would be the, because I get that people kind of have their day schedule, what does it do to you all if we keep it one board meeting, but we go on dates already scheduled? What does that do?
What if we move the April 11th to the April 4th? That would, like Mr. Terrell said, that would give you the 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
We could do that too. The challenge with that would be it's coming off of the spring break week. So
Right, but you would still have a pretty good docket from.
Yeah, I'm just saying the prep of preparing, most of the people who would be preparing things for the board meeting for you to get by the Friday before the board meeting would not be in the office.
So
that's the only challenge there.
I'm wondering if
Which is a challenge.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know.
How much changes over spring break? Could you have that presented Friday before you leave for spring break? I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah, it depends.
I just think
to use,
because just keep it on the 14th because people already set their schedules.
Would it have been possible
That's
to
true.
move it to the 22nd instead of the 21st, the Thursday?
Are you out that week?
No, I could probably do the 22nd.
Well,
You still don't know though, John, right?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, but I guess my thought is, does it cause you guys a burden to just
Do we
not,
have
to
decide-
leave it
we
where
don't
it
have to
is?
decide that tonight. We can, we can
Kim
communicate via email.
Kim can do it
and-
again. She can email all of you and we can do the doodle
Okay,
poll
let's-
kind of
That
thing
may
with
be
the
the only,
options.
because without,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, so
Okay.
basically our options are, I think, what I'm hearing is either leave it where one meeting in March where it is, or leave one meeting in March on the 21st.
So I'll have Kim send that out to all of you in a doodle poll.
Yeah.
And you guys
Rather than
can,
bunches of other choices, to me, it's like either leave it where it's supposed to be or move it a week to help spread it out just a little. Does it burden you guys to have that much time between meetings?
we can make it work.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's good. We'll do a poll. That way you guys get a chance to check on your calendars and stuff like that, but, I mean, worst case scenario, we just don't do the second one in March, right? I mean, that's,
That's right.
okay, okay, very good. So we've already done our press conference, option. And now we're at adjournment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, going back, the only thing I would say on that is, you were gonna do the presentation of the surveys
Yeah.
and community meetings, and then the following is gonna be kind
So
of
that would,
synopsis and recommendations.
that would end up in April then,
Yeah, so, I mean,
which it would be
we're
anyway
pushing it
if we
back
do
further.
one.
I mean, at what point do we put on the table that nothing can happen for next school year? Because, I mean, we're,
Again, I think it depends on what the recommendations are that we come out with.
that would
There-
be my only thing is I'd kind of like to see those. And
Yeah, for instance, one thing that I would suggest to you is no matter what option we decide to go with, one of them has to be redistricting for next year to address, at the elementary level, to address the overcrowding at Charles and also at Westview. So that would, I mean, even at that
I'm
point
sure
in
we've
time.
already kind of looked at that. I mean, we're talking like moving just like 2 or 3 streets.
Scooting borders.
I think we're gonna have to, in order to do it right, I think our approach to go into it, to set us up so we're not doing this every year, needs to be to look at a target of getting every school at the 85% area as far as capacity goes with elementary. And so I don't know that that can be accomplished in a street or two. So I don't know, we're in the process of working through that right now.
I didn't know if you just dove into it a little bit yet or not. So.
And we've looked at a little bit, but a little bit to know that we don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
And that's an acceptable answer right now. I mean,
Okay.
so I don't want a definite tonight, but yeah.
All right.
So, just to clarify, so we'll be hearing the survey results, and then the following meeting, we'll get recommendations?
No, the following meeting will be the summation of all of the master planning process.
Okay.
And we can talk through what you want to have out of that. Do you want them to give you their recommendations? Do you want them to simply present the summation of everything with where it is, and then you develop the recommendations? That's something that we'll talk through at the
Okay.
next meeting to figure out after the input from the programs.
I
what it
said
is that-
recommendation, I meant summation. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
What it is that you
Trying
guys
to
want.
My
make
bad.
sure.
My bad.
Got a little nervous when I heard recommendations.
Yeah.
But, all right. That,
All right.
I mean, that's perfectly fine.
So, how about a bell ringer?
So our bell ringer tonight is long. Wanted to mention Ike Camus, which we already mentioned, but then wanted to also call attention to our gymnastics team this weekend, which won sectionals for the first time ever.
That's
And will be
amazing.
competing in regionals this Saturday. Our speech team, as we already talked about, won sectionals again for the first time ever. And they will be competing at the district meet, which we just approved, which is a national qualifying meet as well. So we hope to have some students make it on to nationals from there. Our math team this weekend was in competition, and they took first place as well. And then we also want to celebrate, we have 2 students, life skills students, Olivia Lewis and Kaylee Jennings, who will be participating in the Special Olympics basketball next weekend.
Cool.
And if you remember earlier this year, they competed at the halftime of one of our basketball games, and did a
If you've
great
never
job.
seen that, you need to see
It's
that.
really
It's so
something.
much
It's
fun.
inspiring.
So
It
much
is.
fun.
And the last thing I'd like, in talking with Larry Cochran today, the rankings in the NCC for overall sports awards or places just came out this weekend or this past week, and we are currently in 4th place in the North Central Conference for overall sportsmanship with how our teams have finished. So that's really, that's great. The 3 teams that are in front of us all happen to be in Lafayette.
Oh, really? Shocker there.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good
So
news.
we just want to celebrate. There's so many great things that are happening in our district and our kids. And
Did we have anybody advance from Skills USA this year to go to nationals or go to state competition?
Yeah, we haven't heard of anybody yet.
I know we've been really strong in the past. So.
Yeah. That's it.
Very good. Those are good bell ringers. And have a great evening.